Kevin Costner, first, I just want to say thank you for sharing your gift and talent with audiences like myself all these years. You are a true legend, so I want to start off with that.
Oh, good.
Now, of course, we're talking Horizon, an American Saga, which this is a multi-layered Western that chronicles 15-year span. This is a lot to put in a film of that pre and post Civil War expansion and settlement of the American West. Now, you're the director, producer, co-writer, star of this film. I want to talk a little bit about that director and producer portion of it. Going into this, what was that thought process? Why did you want to tell the story in this way?
Well, I have had this in my mind for so long, and I really felt that I needed to direct it because I needed it to look how I felt how I wanted it to be. There, when I first showed it, nobody said, "Well, we're not sure how this works," and I thought, well, I can't let anybody direct it if they don't know how it works. And I just thought it was really high entertainment in an era of America where we wonder about. And we start to wonder now, was that just like Frontierland at Disneyland? Or is that really what happened? And when people came to America, it was like some weird promise that if, it was like the Garden of Eden, if you think about it. And if you were mean enough and you were tough enough, you were strong enough, you could go out there, you could claim things. And the reality was that there were people that had been here for 15,000 years that had already established a way of life. And this thirst, this appetite for land, for things that we didn't have in Europe, became a recipe for disaster. And yet, in this clash that occurred, there was also a lot of nobility, there was also a lot of resourcefulness, there was a lot of brutal things that happened. And when we do it right, when we kind of try to dig in and try to realize these were real people trying to exist in a land that was unfamiliar to them, and it was, it really can make for a really exciting drama.
For sure. There's so much excitement, but like you said, it's a real story that a lot of horrific things happen, but you're kind of just laying it out for audiences to see. And, I watched this film, and one of the parts that I really enjoyed was the fact that you told it through so many different perspectives. Why did you feel like you needed this multitude of views for audiences to see?
Well, women actually just, as we were writing this, just became more dominant and dominant to where they kind of dominate the movie. And yet we have our gunfights, we have our violence, we have that thing, running horses just faster than you can even dream of. People running for their lives. But women are the strength of Horizon in a sense. You see their will. They were brought out there against their will, but you see their desire to just be clean, to feed their families, and they exist, and they're minimized in most Westerns, and they're just simply not here. They're really examples of people just trying that had to get through it themselves.
And I enjoy that we get to see that. We get to see it through, children's eyes, adults' eyes, everybody's different perspective. I felt like that was a really important part of the movie. And of course, your son, Hayes, is in the movie. How did that come about? Was that something you brought to him, he brought to you?
Hayes is the lead character in Horizon. And my son, I just love the name so much, and I named him it, and I watched him getting older and older, and I thinking, God, I have to make this movie. And then all of a sudden I thought he can be in the movie, and I was so happy to be able to direct him. And it's a powerful scene. It's a brutal scene.
And I think audiences will know exactly what scene you're talking about once they are able to see this. For sure, was powerful. It was
to see them fighting for their life,
literally,
and making mistakes by staying. And Sienna fighting for her life.
Yeah.
One breath at a time.
There were a lot of different, it looks like, just tough scenes to film in this movie. What do you think was the most difficult part for you, whether that be physically, mentally, getting the right angles?
There's so many moving parts. There's so many people. There's a town working, building bridges, kind of, well, it's, sometimes I walk out there and I think, how in the world am I going to do this? But I think, trust my story, because people go to the movies because they want to be transported. And that's what Horizon does. It takes you on a journey. I mean, when the lights go out, you go with this place. It's a movie that I felt like it's a movie I wish someone would make for me. Because I want to go back in that time, and I want to feel like I'm feeling the risk. I'm feeling what's at stake, and the way that people dress, the way they had to exist against the land. This was a movie that I made. It's like a Father's Day present to fathers, but it's really about the women. It's like a lot of times people think, well, I can't take the kids. That's too violent. I think this is a movie that once they see it, they say, you know what? No, I want my daughter to see how rough it was on her predecessors, on her ancestors, what it was like. No, I want my son to see this, because the violence is honest and it's true. It's sudden, it's spontaneous, and it happens out there. But it's these landscapes that still exist. We don't get tired of running horses. And when you see them run in this movie, they run.
I mean, they are fast.
Yeah.
They take off.
and they were bareback, and they're gifted. And that's why they, existed. They survived.
You've been doing this so long. Is there any part of you that still gets a little nervous when projects come out, particularly this one, because this was a huge passion project for you?
Yeah, well, I believe in the experience of movies. So this is all made for an audience. I built this for people to watch, and in 6 weeks, another one is coming. It's unheard of, and then there's a third one. I'm filming it now. So this is a journey in America. It's only one story, but it's a multitude of stories that take you through time. So, I love to present things to people, and feel like that when they walk away from it, they're going to feel a little differently. Because I think that's why we go. For some reason, we go. The lights go out. We want something to happen. And when you go to Horizon and the lights go out, you're going to be transported, whether it's what you felt like when you were a little kid or what you just feel you suddenly relate to these women in a way that they're not just saloon girls, they're people moving and following and surviving.
And, speaking of just presenting this to the world, Cannes Film Festival, you get this 11-minute standing ovation. We've got to talk about that moment. We saw you get just a little emotional there. What was that feeling like? What were you thinking in that moment that kind of overtook you?
I don't know. It's been such a journey for me. And, a lot of times the things I've wanted to do in my life, these Dances with Wolves and Open Range and Field of Dreams and Bull Durham, certain movies like this that have been hard to get made, when I believe so much I go to movies myself and I want to feel things, a multitude of things, wonder, fear, joy, the romance, the drama. And so I just really wanted that same thing to happen for people, and I believe in the audience. I believe that when the lights go out, magic can happen. And when the lights came up, and it's been about a 25-year journey for me, I was a little overwhelmed. The camera was a little bit too close to me, and they wouldn't take it off me. And all I could look at, and I realized that I had 5 of my children with me, and I looked down at them, and they looked at me, and my son had never seen me be emotional. And my 13-year-old, I think, was just looking, and it's a moment everybody should have at one point, but you don't know what to do with it. I didn't know what to do. I just like making movies for people, and I like making movies that stand the test of time.
I feel like your passion always comes through in all the projects that you're in. What is it about your craft that keeps you coming back to create more and more magic? Like, why is telling stories so important to you?
I think, the thing I love most about movies, when they're working at their very best, they become moments, visual things that happen, a word that's said, a line, a look, a kiss, a touch, a goodbye, that we'll never ever forget. I mean, when I kissed Whitney that last time on the tarmac, it's a moment that lives. And when someone waves a last moment, movies can still be about that. And this movie is filled with that. Those moments that maybe set against a landscape that you think doesn't exist anymore, you'll never forget.
Kevin, thank you so much for continuing to give us your gift, for showing us what following your passion truly looks like. Thank you.
Thank you.